Alright, there we go, it's recording. Hi, my name is Austin Ladd. This is my story. It's called Long Popo. It's going to be a retelling of the Red Riding Hood story. There we go. So just a little bit about the author before we get started. His name is Ed Yong. He was born in Taijing, which is in the northern part of China. It's really close to Beijing, kind of on the coast. He came to the United States in the 50s to study architecture, but he would switch his major into art. Just a big art guy pretty much his whole life, and that's why we see him making picture books. A little fun fact I found, he was one of Cheng Man-ching's top 2 students, so that guy was a world-renowned Chinese Tai Chi master, and Young would end up going on to teach it over 40 years at schools like Yale and Napora, just sort of all over the United States. His passion for storytelling and art led him to write and draw hundreds of children's books. He produced some of them all on his own, and others he just did art, but for this story we're going to talk about today, he did a lot of the writing. Here's some of his work. You can see really pretty what I think is watercolor, but I'm not 100% sure. And then we can see some of kind of the paper in here that he likes to use. Here's him getting it all set up. And then more of just that beautiful paperwork he likes doing on there. Here's just some more art I thought was fun. Some of the paper making up fire. A fun little thing of what looks like a brown panda. Just a lot of great stuff. So anyway, our story is called Long Popo. So the story starts out, and I really like this quote: "To all the wolves of the world for lending their good name as a tangible symbol for our darkness." So just sort of thanking wolves, sort of, not directly, but as sort of this idea of how we represent them as kind of an evil. So he's just thanking them for that, even though they're most likely not directly evil themselves. So the story starts out, it's 3 children and their mother. They live in this house, and the mother goes away to visit their grandma. She'll be back in a day, and that night they're visited by a wolf who claims to be their Popo. That's their grandmother. Popo means grandma, and then Lon is like wolf, so the name of the story is Wolf Grandmother. So she's trying to convince the children to let her into the house, and she successfully does so. But before they're all getting ready to go to bed, and right before they go to bed, the oldest flashes like a candle, and the wolf blows it out. So she notices that it's a wolf, and the 2 children are sort of oblivious, so the oldest child has to come up with a plan. So they all get up in this tree, and they tell the wolf that the fruit in the tree, which is called ginkgo, is they're sort of like apricots, but they convince the wolf that this fruit is delicious, and the wolf needs to have some, and it will give him for everlasting life. But the wolf can't climb the tree. So they devise a plan. The oldest sibling hoists the wolf up in a basket into the tree, and then pretends she isn't strong enough, and then drops the wolf down onto the ground. And they do this about 3 times until they get the wolf all the way up to the top here, and then they drop it down and the wolf is killed. So, and then my favorite panel is once the children realize that the wolf has died, their sort of reactions. I like that the author doesn't really hold back on their emotional expressions, and he just really really shows and encapsulates how the children are feeling after realizing what's happened. So the main themes from this story are the importance of family. Everything in the story is centered around the family. The oldest child's creativity and resourcefulness, sort of. It's mentioned that she's the most clever of the 3 because of her age, so she has to come up with this sort of abstract plan to keep them all safe. And then family, everything, it revolves around the grandmother and the mother. Just the reason they let the wolf in the first place is because they believe it's their grandmother, because they love her so much. Importance of caution and safety, not trusting strangers, and sort of being a little bit more suspicious, and just kind of to keep you safe. And then good versus evil, obviously the good nature of the children versus the evil or bad intentions of the wolf. And then to wrap it up here, just some final little things. Long Popo was published in 1989, and it would win a Caldecott Medal. That's sort of like the picture book of the year. And Heather McNeil has this great quote. She's from Hornbook magazine. "This production brings new life to an old favorite." I haven't heard the story of Little Red Riding Hood in a really long time, and this sort of is a really great new spin on it that I enjoyed it a lot. And Ed Yong, he'd go to write dozens more stories after all this, but he would unfortunately pass away in 2023 due to natural causes. So yeah, that's my book. Thank you so much for listening.